Welcome to the Heart of Money podcast, where we discuss the personal and emotional elements of money and the impact that money has on every area of your life. I'm Austin Black, a personal finance coach that helps couples overcome their fear and frustration of financial management so they can take complete control of their money. What started as a desire to learn the fundamentals of money management has turned into a passion for helping couples work together to achieve financial success and strengthen their relationship with each other. Whether you're looking for the best strategies to manage your money as a couple, or you're tired of struggling to gain traction and want to overcome the fear and frustration associated with finances, I'm here to help, and this show is for you. Ready to learn more? Then let's talk about the heart of money. Well, most people think that in order to become debt-free, have financial security, get anywhere in life with your money, you have to either make a lot of it or spend very little of it. And the reality is that neither one of those are completely true. In fact, I've got a training I'm going to walk you through called the Financial Freedom Blueprint that's going to show you how to become debt-free and have financial security without the need for a huge income or restrictive lifestyle. I'm offering this training live once a month. So head on over to freedommoneycoach.com/training and you can get signed up for free. In this training, I'm going to walk you through the exact strategies that I teach my clients on how to get on the same page with their spouse, create a plan for their money, and accomplish their financial goals through behavior management. It's going to be so much fun. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to walk away inspired, motivated, and encouraged to achieve your financial goals this year. So head on over to freedommoneycoach.com/training. Hey folks, welcome back to the Heart of Money episode 99. I am your host, Austin Black, and I'm joined by two amazing individuals that I've had the pleasure of getting to recently know. EJ and Tarah Kerwin are dedicated to transforming couples' lives through meaningful connection and support. As a licensed professional counselor and marriage and family therapist, EJ and Tarah operate relationship renovation coaching and host the world-renowned Relationship Renovation podcast, where they provide tools for couples to thrive and dive into everything you want to know about relationships. Together, the couple strives to help their clients experience less suffering, more growth, and developing strategies to live a value-integrated life. And they have successfully helped thousands of couples strengthen their relationships worldwide. Powerhouse couple, if I've ever heard of one. EJ and Tarah, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Welcome to the Heart of Money.
Thank you. First of all, I love that we're episode 99. We're not in triple digits yet. And I love that intro. So thank you so much, Austin.
Yeah, nice to speak with you, Austin.
So tell me a little bit more about what you guys are doing, who you're serving, how you're changing the world, because I know you've got a really cool past and history to your company and how you're working together as a couple.
You want me to start and then you can jump in?
Sure.
All right. Well, Tarah and I are married. We've been together about 15 years. Mm-hmm. We have a blended family. I came into a relationship with a couple of pretty young boys at the time. And we'd also both been therapists for quite some time. And we hit some snags early on in our relationship, specifically when our twins were born, who Tarah can tell you more. They had colic and cried for about a year straight, and we were just like insanely stressed and really struggling. And one day, Tarah, you take it from here. You called me.
So, love this man. Had no idea how stressful life could be until we go on our honeymoon. I come back, I'm pregnant with twins. So I go from 0 to 4 kids in a year and a half, which I had just been living in my 3-bedroom condo, chilling, 1 load of laundry a week. Like, oh, cool. I love EJ. I like kids. His kids, we had 50% of the time. They were great. But then to bring I'm a twin, and I thought it would skip a generation. I didn't even know if I could get pregnant. And
no skipping.
There was no. And so I was, of course, like really excited and grateful, but also terrified because I had never even changed a diaper. And I would be now with 4 kids under 5 years old. And yes, colic. I didn't know what that was until these beautiful humans that I felt like I was being punished for were born. And I, again, would was nursing every hour. I'd go 5 days without sleep. I was crazy. I started to really resent EJ for how dare you do what is my life right now. And I knew I loved him, but I was so overwhelmed, so sleep deprived. I just had to stop, working for that year. And I just remember looking at him and being like, we are 2 trained therapists with all of the tools in our tool belt. And this is really hard. I had no idea how hard this transition would be. We had to figure us out. And when we do, we have got to help couples in our community because this isn't okay. And I can see why people go through so much heartache, because I've been a marriage counselor for 20 years, but I never had been in the thick of it until, and I just believe that the universe, God gives you what you can handle. And I knew I loved this man. And so from that, I was running at the park and I called EJ and I said, EJ, we've got to help other couples. This is what we have to do. And he's like, no, I don't really like couples work. I was like, well, listen to me.
Yeah.
And then from there, that was in 2016. The twins were a year and a half. 8 years later, we have a staff of 15. We have a world-renowned podcast. We've helped thousands of couples go through this amazing relationship renovation model that we built because couples need structure, especially when they're in crisis. And it is our heart's passion to keep couples together because so many couples want to give up. I mean, I remember the moment I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm going to Kentucky back to my twin sister. See you later, EJ, in the minivan we had to buy. I was like, I did not sign up for this, but something kept pulling me back. And, so it was from that moment that we built all of this.
And I think how it relates to Heart of Money is that, we took a risk. We took a risk pretty early on in our relationship with a young family we were building, and we were going through a transition professionally, and we started a business, and it started off just the 2 of us. And then within a few years, we became very busy and we were turning away couples or putting them on a year-long waiting list. So we started hiring people. And because we knew this model that we had created was something that we could transfer and we could scale in both a financial way, but also in helping as many people as we could. And so we started a business together. We started this podcast because also we knew the power of media and getting the word out. And so we've been blended family, a couple, business partners, podcasters. We wear a lot of different hats in our relationship.
And we're still here.
And
our twins are 10 now, and our twins are 10.
Yeah. And we're happy, and we have a really wonderful relationship. And I know we've helped, a ton of couples out there.
But I will say the financial piece is because we're always so helping others and supervising others and training others, the financial piece really for me, I have let EJ manage all of it. And I'm just, our style is honey, just tell me when to be austere, and I know that's not.
And it lasts for about a week and a half.
Well, you got to remind me. You have to remind me.
She could forget very quickly that we're.
But I will say that's one area we have not really talked about too much. There's just this agreement that EJ's on it, and if there's anything really important, he'll let me know. But I know that is my avoidance too. So, yeah.
That's a fantastic story, and I love how every time someone starts a business, it is due to something that's happened in their own life. Mm-hmm. And I think I've got to say I haven't heard a story that intense before. Going 5 days without sleep I can't even imagine that.
We don't do anything mellow, let me tell you.
That's true.
I may have brought kids, but Tarah brought chaos.
So I know one of the things that we talked about ahead of time was, if we want to take a personal or professional approach to this conversation, and EJ, you mentioned that you kind of wanted to blend the two. And I think in your environment, in your family, you've already done a very good job of blending professional and personal from what I've gathered. So walk me through a little bit how you guys have been able to focus on the marriage, the money, the mission of the business to create something that works for you guys? Because that's something that a lot of couples, they struggle to manage one of those, much less all three. How have you guys seen that really be something that you can have success with?
I mean, one of the blessings, like true blessings to what we do and what we chose to do, was our business is its heart is helping couples have a connected, loving relationship. And so because Tarah and I both, like, you know, we don't want to be hypocrites, and we want to
practice what we preach.
We want to practice what we preach. We want to be value driven in our business and in our life. That meant that everything we do for couples, we do for ourselves. And although we might struggle with certain things like creating, you know, time just for us as a couple, we're constantly working on it. And so I think what's helped us get through this and be as close as we are now is that our business is about having a great relationship. And so that means that we've put a ton of work into our relationship.
Well, and I love this question because I was realizing early on, because when I came into the relationship, I had an insane, awesome credit score. I had savings. I was working, had my private practice on the side. Like, I was doing really great. And then when kids come in and then I take a whole year off, I have no income coming in. And then EJ kind of takes over everything. Like, I started to find myself getting resentful, even like with the two boys, my stepsons, because I felt myself like, oh my gosh, like, that's my money. That's not their money. Like, I just felt myself getting resentful in all these ways. Like, how is all this hard-earned money just going to all these medical bills and all this food and all this laundry and clothes and haircuts and schools and athletics? Like, I was overwhelmed. And I knew the feeling of resentment was not good for my relationship with EJ. And so over like years, I've practiced like a letting go. Like, this is our money. This is our family. You know, I know you had, you were on our podcast, and the biggest thing was we. It took a little bit of time for me to get from the I to the we, because it went from like just me managing my own to like a family of four, like constantly giving out money in every which way and losing my savings and having to surrender. But I feel like that letting go and accepting of like the we was how we were able to not get into those conflicts. But they were there, but I just knew that they weren't good. And so I was like, oh, this is something we have to work on, because this is definitely making me feel resentful. Why is it our job to save for their college? It should be everybody's job. Like, it's just all of the stuff.
And that's such a difficult mindset, I think, for any couple that has one income earner. There is this kind of, or there can be this disconnect from the person that's making the money and the person that is supporting and, you know, is accountable in that relationship, and feeling like they have a say, like they have buy-in, like they have, you know, the involvement in there, but also the other person feeling like they are not alone in making the money. You know, it's not a one-man show. Mm-hmm. What were some of the tactical things that you did to avoid having that resentment and embracing the idea that although you weren't providing an income, it was still a household pursuit and you were supporting EJ in his endeavor to provide?
It was, honestly, it's just like this. I know the feeling of fear. I've had it my whole life. I come from scarcity. You know, I didn't even have food to eat when I was younger. So I've been working since I was 8 years old to earn money for my twin and I to even eat food. And so for me, I knew it was so much deeper than just this, you know, little pieces of resentment. It was like a whole fear of like, if I'm not earning money, like I will die. Like if I'm not, like something, it came from a lot of scarcity and trauma. And I just knew that I trusted EJ. And so I just kept coming back to this internal trust. Like, even though I'm really scared, like to this day, I will use our debit card. I know we're fine, but I'm like, it's going to say denied. I'm going to go to the grocery line. I'm going to be at Trader Joe's and it's going to say no funds. Like, that will always be there. That is from early on scarcity. But I U-turn it in that moment. It's like a lot of cognitive restructuring. Like, I'm safe. We're okay. We're going to be okay. I can trust this. So it was that, instead of looping out into the fear-based stuff. So just a lot of internal cognitive restructuring work on my part is what I did.
I mean,
it was really hard though.
Yeah. I mean, we're therapists, so we're going to answer this like therapists, you know? I mean, and so for me, it was about cultivating, like working towards having an awareness that most of the conflict around money, or in these moments around, you know, the blended family element of money, or was coming from each of our own like suffering. You know, that what might look like something that is like accusing or blaming or lack of trust with Tarah was because of exactly what she talked about, that coming from scarcity and struggling to be know her role as somebody who suddenly isn't working, or has these other two boys that she cares, loves, but weren't, you know, her kids until she came in. And so understanding that what might look like something I really don't like, a behavior or words or whatever, knowing that it's coming from a place of suffering. And then for me, it was my own personal growth around, and this is an ongoing project, anybody who listens to our podcast and knows us at all, is defensiveness. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of men. A lot of men struggle to hear feedback. They hear it as criticism. And so for me, it was like getting really, really aware of my own reactivity and my own defensiveness. And because if I'm being defensive, I can't listen, you know, and if I can't listen and I can't be empathetic to whatever Tarah is feeling, whatever she is communicating, how in the world are we going to ever solve the problem, you know? And so it was just like really cultivating an awareness and empathy towards herself, towards Tarah, and then also just staying aware of my junk, just getting to know it really well, and not trying to, you know, sort of sidestep my personal responsibility in conflict.
I see a lot of intertwining threads in the relationship component that you guys are talking about, from the standpoint of each of you taking responsibility, accountability for your own actions and reactions to the situation. And on the financial side, I always talk about how each person in the relationship has to understand their own response to money, their own reaction to money, their own acknowledgement of money management, to be able to meet their spouse in the middle. How have you guys seen, whether it's in your personal lives or with the couples that you work with, those dynamics and those attributes of self-accountability kind of being almost the make or break success tool of relationships and money, and having a good solid foundation as a husband and wife?
Well, I mean, I think accountability, no matter what you're talking about, it's really hard to move forward in a relationship with a lack of accountability, you know. And so in our relationship, like, I've had to take accountable for you know, maybe the dynamic with us, for instance, is like that my nose is in the books, and I'm, you know, the one sort of like on the day-to-day looking at our finances, and I have to take accountability that I agreed to that, you know. And if the minute Tarah asks me a question about a credit card or about some finance question, and I get defensive and I start thinking to myself, oh, well, how can she question me? Like, I do all this work and I'm the one who's dealing with it. You know, I got to take accountability for the fact that, like, either explicitly or implicitly, I agreed to that. And if I don't do that about whatever it is in our relationship, then I end up in this, like, blaming, you know, in my own head, making a story up about Tarah that's based only upon my own perspective. So I think, you know, accountability is like the most important thing, and that I do make mistakes, you know, and as well. And that if I do make a mistake, which I've certainly made mistakes in our financial life, that I got to say, hey, yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Okay. And so for me, there's a lot of growth factor here in my relationship with money. But, I think in the beginning, when everything was overwhelming with the 4 kids and the colic, I just said, EJ, you do it all. Like, cause I was doing it all for myself. And, and so now 10 years later, that hasn't really been renegotiated because because I'm now like the businesses and everything. And I feel still really busy that I almost still just trust that EJ's okay, but then I also see him getting up in the middle of the night looking at our bank account. Like, I see how much stress he has, and I'm like, I don't really want part of that right now because I'm already so overwhelmed in my other areas. And I try to support EJ, like, hey honey, just like let me know if there's anything I can do. But I know for me, like, I'm not quite ready to be in the know of everything because I feel like that would be overwhelming for me. But I think it works now. It can't work forever. I'm super aware that I just want to know that we can buy groceries this week and I'll feel really safe. Like, that's for me. Like, and I know that he's also planning for our future and all of the investments we have. And like, we talk about all of that, which is amazing, and silver and all of that stuff. So I feel like he's just doing a really good job of really, but I also know I'm 10% in. I'm like trusting him. It's all on his plate. And I haven't really asked, what is that like for you, EJ, for it to be really solely you're the responsible financial person? Yeah. I truly haven't asked you that. I'm asking right now.
Oh, you're asking.
I am.
Well, I mean, it's a big responsibility, you know. It's a big deal. It's because it's you, and the kids are the people that I love the most in the world, and finance is like, money is a huge underpinning to your wellness. And you know, short term, long term, we don't want to be grinding for another 20 years, you know, 20
Yeah.
You know, and we want our kids to have a successful life, and we want to just, you know, pay off all of our bills and all that. So, and then there's uncertainty in money too. There's like, you know, especially having a business where, it's, you know, you have to be a risk taker to own a business and run a business. And so it's a heavy, I don't want to say burden. It's not a burden. It's just, it's a heavy load. And it's just like, I don't go more than a couple hours without thinking about our financial life. Like, it is a constant weight on me.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do it. And there's a lot of things I'm proud about it. But it weighs me down. And you can tell when I'm like,
I can tell, but it's
times.
Every 2 hours I didn't know. And well, I just want you to know that I am willing and motivated if you want to do financial coaching. I can give a little bit more than 10%, honey. I don't want this to feel all on you. That's one thing.
I don't resent, but I don't at all resent or like feel like, you know, there's no, I don't have any resentment towards you.
No, it's just a lot though. It's like, yeah, but we have this like kind of silent agreement. Like, okay, I've got the groceries and the kids and the dinners.
Yeah, I mean, she does so much. Like, there's agreements in there that there are so many other things that she carries the weight of. So it's just that money is this weird, you know, blanket over it all. It feels like, to me at least, it's like this, it's the webbing, it's like the connective tissue in so many aspects of our life.
So that's something that a lot of couples that come to me, the husband probably hasn't taken the initiative or the leadership that he needs to, and the wife is tired of having to be the one to do it. What would you say to a couple who is in that position where the wife was overwhelmed? She maybe was the one who has the ability and skill set, but she is really wanting her husband to step in and take more of a role and fulfill that duty more so, but without diminishing her role within that relationship and what she has done. What would be your recommendation to that couple to achieve that balance of duty and responsibility and trust in each other to accomplish that?
I mean, we get couples like this all of the time. And the question is, what are you willing to do? And what are you willing to do? And looking at both of those, and hopefully it at least starting with baby steps. Like, I'm at least willing to start having conversations with you. Great. Okay. How many minutes, right? Because it can't be 3 hours. Because that's the thing too. Couples will come in and they'll have like 3 to 4 hours of these like financial meetings, which is overwhelming, exhausting. So we just have to help them. We help couples. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? And we make it very realistic, and we make it very like step by step. So it's not like, let's just do an autopsy the first day of all of our like debt. No, let's at least set up like positive experiences with each other so that in 3 weeks you guys can go do the autopsy of debt.
I mean, there's a few pieces of advice I'd give. I mean, the first is just an overall like understanding that agreements are incredibly important in relationship, that we make agreements and we hold to them. And I one way I frame this to couples sometimes is like, you have countries have treaties, they have boundaries. All of those things are negotiable and can be changed. And so like in what you're saying is if there's a wife who doesn't want to shoulder that burden anymore, but has for a long time and wants to shift responsibility, that it's important sort of having the mindset with your partner of we got to change things. We got to change the borders in our relationship. We got to create some new boundaries, and then sometimes you need help. I think that's a huge thing. And we talked about this a little bit in when we interviewed you on our podcast, is money's so emotional. And there's so much baggage we bring in, and reactivity that we're not even, triggers. That's a big word we use in therapy, that there's things that trigger people to old beliefs about themselves that have nothing to do with their partner, but are greatly influencing them. And so you might need, money might just be the symptom of a deeper problem within your relationship around communication,
trust,
and trust and emotional safety.
Yeah.
So, identifying that you want to renegotiate some agreements is super important. Getting some help from maybe a therapist, or maybe it's you, maybe it's someone who right around money like has an expertise, because if that wife wants her husband to pick up some responsibilities, he might need some coaching. Like you said, he might not be prepared. She might that accounting class in college might have really sunk in deep with her, and he was in engineering classes the entire time and doesn't have any background at all, and so he might need some help. So creating the agreement that we're going to renegotiate, and it might take a little bit of time, and then getting the help to get there, I think would be the two big pieces I would say.
So you mentioned there about triggers and just the things from your past that can spark emotion, spark reaction. What would you say about the what's the best way to put this? Separating those instances from how you're acting to your spouse. So if something happens that causes you to have that reaction that's actually based about something in your past. It's not something your spouse has done, but your spouse maybe has caused that trigger to happen. How do you recommend that couples acknowledge or realize or create that separation so they know, hey, this is more me than you? Does that make sense?
We both want this one, but I'll let you go and then I'll go.
Well,
Don't take up all the time though. Come on now.
Okay, so Austin, this is one of the first things we did before I even knew one day we would own a couples counseling center / podcast. What? EJ comes in the door and I'm just like, oh, how dare him. He's had adult conversations all day. And I'm here with like this milking.
People very sick with eating disorders. Those have been my
it didn't
my
matter.
adult conversations.
And I like this milking cow, right? I know this sounds, sorry if that's too much of visual, but, and I just said burnt toast. I said burnt toast. And he's like, what? That was my code word. We eventually came at a code word because, right, I would keep going to the toaster or the microwave to get my coffee, and then a baby would cry, and then I would go to the toaster again, and by the time I got to the toaster, my toast was burnt. And I just said, EJ, when I say burnt toast, it means I am not good. I'm not good for you. I'm not good for me. I'm not good for our animals. I'm just not the person I want to be. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to remove myself for however long I need to. Usually it's just like a few minutes. And it's my code word because I don't want to resent EJ more. I don't want to take out my overwhelm on, the people that I love. I needed to take care of myself. And I just kept recognizing the state of overwhelm. And so code word, right? Again, ours is burnt toast. It means I'm not the person I want to be right now. I'm going to go take care of myself. Sometimes it's reading a magazine. Sometimes it's putting on Miles Davis. Sometimes it's just being in a room without any sounds because I get so overstimulated in my nervous system, especially with the colic. And that changed everything because now I'm not blaming EJ. I'm not projecting my anger onto him. I'm coming back with clarity. I'm in my window of tolerance, we call it, so we can communicate more clearly. And so the very first thing was code word. You recognize when you can't be your best self or you're out of your window of tolerance. You remove yourself until you can come back in and be, the human you want to be. So that's my answer.
Yeah, and I can take that and just kind of go farther down the road with it. So code word stops that moment of reactivity when there's a trigger, when there's something that. And one thing we tell couples is if you look at the stimulus, if you look at the thing your partner said or the tone of their voice, and then you look at your reaction, and if the reaction seems to outweigh the stimulus, you know that it's probably a triggered moment, right? That it's accessing some other fuel other than just what Tarah has said to me, right?
Like you just walked through the door and I was...
Yeah. And you're already, And so then you have to engage in this process of an understanding of the difference between content and process. Mm-hmm. And that you can't get to the content, right? If it's balancing the checkbook, that's the content. You guys are talking about numbers in the ledger, right? That you can't get to solving that problem until you acknowledge and deal with the process is reactivity, defensiveness, fear, right? Like if you try to resolve your trigger and the checkbook at the same moment, you're going to be unsuccessful. You can't do both things. And so you sort of like, in our opinion at least, you have to put the ledger aside for half an hour and say, okay, what's going on for you? I just got home from work. I had a horrible interaction with a client right at the end, and I'm just like frazzled and tired. What's going on for you? Well, the kids have been crazy and they haven't stopped crying. Okay, and then we know okay, we both had something going on. We're not ready for this yet. Or let's go take a walk together and hold hands and watch the sunset. Let's just do something that gets us like stabilized in our window of tolerance then let's talk about the checkbook. And you know, so to me, it's acknowledging that that most often in times of conflict, there's two things going on, but people try to solve them at the same time, and they fail, and then they oftentimes really hurt each other. They really say yucky,
becomes
mean
a
things
cycle,
to each other.
and then it becomes this pattern over and
then
over
it's a
and
checkbook,
over.
and it's laundry, and it's the kids, it's everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's a systemic problem.
And then there's something that happens that breaks the straw that breaks the camel's back, and it all comes to light.
Oh, and then they come see you or me or us.
But it's so true when you can slow down and understand what's really under that trigger. Like for me, it was like, I can't handle this. Like, and then I just remember when I was a little girl, how it was so stressful. Like, I can't handle this. So like your brain doesn't know a feeling from 8 versus a feeling from 38. It just knows this feeling of overwhelm. So when you can really work on those triggers underneath it, it's just freedom, because you're like, I'm an adult now. I'm not that 8-year-old girl. I can handle this. Is it difficult? It is. But I got this, instead of taken to this powerless place, which I do think money can take people to a powerless place, because how do you eat if you don't have money? I mean, I remember even when COVID happened in 2020, it was just like, I thought we were going to shut down. Who can afford couples counseling? Little did we know it would be like the boom for us. Mm-hmm. Like, don't shut down. We need you. So anyway, yeah.
So the question just popped in my head here in the last few minutes. I keep seeing the sign behind you guys there, in relationship renovation. Mm-hmm. If you were talking to someone who, regardless of what area of life they were struggling in, and they came to you seeking renovation, what would be 3 things that you could tell them, whether it has to do with money, has to do with relationships, has to do with family, with work, whatever the case is? What are the top 3 things that you could tell them of how to cause a renovation in their life?
Oh, that's really...
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I mean, well, I can think of... the first thing, it even brings tears to my eyes, is just this trust yourself. Like, we get all scattered and powerless and feel like everything's out of our control. But if we can come back to like who we are and who we want to be, and like our heart, like that. And yes, I will help you get there, or find support to get you there. But for me, it's just trust yourself. Like, you can handle this. You've got this. And there's support. That's my number one.
Yeah. Mine, and this is deeply personal to me, and it's definitely personal to our relationship, is just, engaging in a process of personal growth. Mm-hmm. Is that the most difficult times that we face in our life are opportunities. And that if we can use those times to enter into a space of, really looking at ourselves and being like, okay, what are the lessons that can be learned right now? And then if you're lucky enough to be in relationship, and I'm extremely lucky to be with Tarah, is we are together invested in. I'm here to help her become her best self, mm-hmm. and to help her in her times of suffering, and try to not be a jerk and make her feel worse. And I trust that even in the times where maybe she does lose her patience with me, or that she's gonna come around and she's gonna support me, and she's gonna help me learn about myself, and that together, we're going to become our best selves together.
I love that. And in our lobby, when you walk into our counseling center, there's a chalkboard, and it says, our partner is our greatest teacher. Be patient for the lessons, because so many people give up at the slightest, oh, this is uncomfortable. No, thank you. And it's like, oh, wait, if you can be patient, there is such freedom in navigating. Because this is a person that's going to trigger me the most, but I'm going to also find myself the most because of those triggers.
Well, and the patience part is huge. Is like we haven't been together like 50 years or anything like. some couples we've been together 15 years, and we've been working on our relationship for those 15 years, and that it's a long game. Like, having a successful relationship and learning to support each other and love one another and get up and over hurdles is gonna take time, and sometimes the growth is really incremental, and it's just, it's a little bit. But I know, like, we've, especially in this last year, I was thinking about this just this morning, where we had like a meeting that we were part of, and it was one of those meetings where in the past we might have like came out of it feeling really detached and maybe even like, oh, there's some disturbance in our relationship. But it was like, like, we're actually like really getting along well. And we're like still
we're in the
having
couple
difficult
bubble,
moments,
babe. No one's busting it.
And that didn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen, super easy. But sticking with it, really sticking with it, I think is important.
Yeah, it's just right. We're a kind of instant gratification society. So it's a hard message. They're like, come on, isn't there something easier you got for us? But no, there's not.
Yeah, and
sorry, Austin. Sorry to your listeners.
Same thing. Like, we might deal with couples about rebuilding intimacy and ask them to spend years doing it. I mean, it's the same thing with you, right? Like, you have a couple comes in a really tough financial place. Their problem isn't solved in a month. It's probably solved in years, right?
Right. I always tell people that we give ourselves way too much grace and not near enough credit for what we can accomplish in a year's time.
Yeah, I like that.
There's always something that you want to get done and you think it's going to take a lot longer. And once you lean into it, you can be amazed at how fast it actually becomes a reality.
Exactly.
Cool.
Once you lean into that. I love that too. Yeah.
Well, this has been just fantastic conversation. And I love those last two answers that you guys gave, because that just, it's evidence that nothing in life comes free and easy. Mm-hmm. But everything that's worth waiting and working on is yields results and is worth everything that it takes to get there. And your comments about the patience there, I don't think that we would value a successful marriage as much if it happened in the first year or the first 5 years. I think it's something that the more we put into it, the more we're going to enjoy it and relish the success. And same thing with your money. If you're going to accomplish financial success in 6 months, everyone would be doing it. Right? It does not happen that fast. Yeah. But whenever you work on it for 2 years or even as long as you're going to retirement, you're working on your money your entire life. Yeah. And those milestones that you hit give you the satisfaction, because it takes work to get there. So thank you for even though we don't like to hear that, it's a good reminder of the value of putting the work in. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
So as we kind of wrap up today, what are some ways that folks can connect with you guys and follow you and work with you and just stay engaged with what's happening at the Relationship Renovation?
Well, I mean, I think the easiest way is just to go to Google and type in Relationship Renovation, and all of our different things are going to pop up. I mean, we have a really thriving counseling center in Tucson, Arizona, where we service hundreds and hundreds of couples. Relationshiprenovation.com. We also have an at-home program where couples can, at their own pace, work through our program, and we've had many couples say like what an incredible experience. There's videos, there's worksheets for them to do together, and then just jump on and follow our podcast, Relationship Renovation Podcast. We have wonderful guests like yourself coming up. And a lot of just like talking about like how to have a happy, healthy, loving relationship. A lot of personal sharing between Tarah and myself, and it's absolutely Relationship Renovation. Just check us out.
Yeah, there's just like our social media links. Instagram has all of our shorts. Our YouTube channel with our shorts. There's a lot. We're everywhere.
We're hustling.
We're hustling.
We're hustling out there.
Yesterday I was talking with one of our other therapists, and I was talking to her, I'm doing some revisions to our training manual, and she's like, grinding is grounding. And I was like, I never looked at it like that. Grinding is grounding. But it was like, okay. Yeah.
It is, man. You can't grind unless your feet are on the ground. So
that's true. But no, this has been an absolute pleasure being on with you, Austin, and also interviewing you on our podcast.
Yeah,
we can't wait for that
you,
to
Austin.
come out.
Absolutely. It was a joy to have you guys on and to share the opportunity with you guys, and look forward to doing more things together. I love working with folks who have a passion and a drive and help people, and you obviously do all of that with excellence. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Austin.
5-star review and share the episode with a friend. My goal is to help as many couples as possible in their journey to gaining complete control of their money. Also, I have a free gift that I want to share with you for taking the time to listen to today's show. I have a brand new video training that outlines 5 steps for making a budget that will give you true financial freedom. In this training, I share how you can create a budget in a matter of minutes and make it easy to implement. Who doesn't want that, right? You'll learn what categories you need to cover all the bases each month and how to protect yourself against financial stress. You can access your free gift at freedommoneycoach.com/budget guide. That's freedommoneycoach.com/budget guide.